last talk for today. We are at the association are registered in Belgium, but we do not interact so much with the Belgium ecosystem, not members, I would say. So we thought it would be a really interesting way to interact with one of the key actors in Belgium, in the name of Ingrid Vanden Berghe, General Administrator of the National Geographic Institute in Belgium. Why? Because yes, they are in Belgium for sure, but as well, they have this other hat, which is the chair of the UN-GGIM. So to have this dual approach is something that will make a lot of sense for us. So please, Ingrid, the floor is yours.
Okay, good evening or good afternoon, everybody. I hope somebody puts up my slides. I am quite happy to be here. I feel very much at ease in this industry because I've been here around for a long time, not as a Earth observation company, but as a policymaker and a user of Earth observation. And I'm really happy to be here today to talk to you about how we can match the work we do within the United Nations with the ambitions and the aspirations and the work you do in IRSC. And so I don't know how to steer this thing. I hope it goes like this. Let's see. That doesn't work. And here I have something else, not that slide. Okay. So that's gone too far. Okay. I have to stand here, sorry. Can't walk around. Difficult. When we look at the environment that we have, yeah, I can see that, about policy making, you have all these policies about the evolution of our Earth, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, the Sustainable Development Goals. I don't have to explain them. You have heard about them somewhere, somehow. Maybe you don't know all of them. That doesn't matter. But it's a very big and worldwide agenda. But also there are other policies like the framework for disaster risk reduction, which was made after some disastrous hurricanes and tsunamis and things like that. Also the Paris Agreement on climate change, which as Europe we are very well aware of the engagement that the world has taken there to change the world for the better and to tackle climate change. And so all these agendas are there, and the big question is how to take that but how to use the technology and the power of technology to tackle those issues. And there we find a very big question on how digital transformation can achieve the sustainable development, and how do we bridge this big digital divide between the reality and the things where we would like to be. And so that's why we have at the UN put together people who are working on global geospatial information management. That's the GGIM. And so it's a intergovernmental United Nations Committee of Experts. So it's the member states of the UN sending an expert talking about how will we manage this? How can we make use of the power of geospatial information to leverage on the sustainable development of the world? Because everything happens somewhere, and if you know where things are happening and how they relate, then you can decide on policies. You cannot decide how to build a healthcare system if you don't know how people will get to your system. So if you're in Congo and you don't have data on trafficability, like we say, of roads, then you have no clue how to build your healthcare system. And so many other examples. So in 2011, ECOSOC, which is the Economical and Social Commission of the UN, they decided we need to think about this, we need to do something. And they put up a temporary group, and we started to work. And within this group, what did we do? Well, we discuss, enhance, and coordinate global geospatial information management activities. How do we do that? Well, we bring all those member states, and not just, well, let's say, we don't bring the technicians together, we bring the heads of the organizations together, because this is about how to make the states more powerful in using and by using geospatial information. So we need heads of delegations that are at the high level. We make joint decisions, we set directions on how to use geospatial information on national, regional, and global policy frameworks. We address and contribute to collective knowledge, we develop strategies, and so on and so on. So the whole goal is how to make accurate, reliable, and authoritative geospatial information ready so national, regional, and global development can go ahead. That's a very big scope, and so if you look at it, you can see it's 4 different communities, which before, certainly at UN level, were a bit living separate lives. You have the statistics communities, very strong and very long tradition within the UN. The whole of UN is statistics, some people say. Then you have the geospatial sector, and there you have the observation, the Earth observation sector, which like we see in Europe, somehow is not always very well linked to the users, which are more on the geospatial side. And then you have the thematic areas like healthcare or geology or whatever. And in this initiative, we try to bring them together. Now, there are several needs. We need geospatial capacity building. That was the discussion of the panel we just had. We need global issues that have to be addressed as a community, and so on and so on. All this is about technical integration and human interoperability. And following all that, we have several lines of activities. Now, if you go to the UN website, UN-GGIM website, you can find all the details on what we do. So there are discussions on land administration and management, and so on and so on. And it's not just discussions, we also work very hard to provide the world with frameworks, guides, norms, standards, and methodological development. So we have documents describing trends in national institutional arrangements, so that you can look at how other countries have arranged their geospatial access to and their geospatial management, and you can learn from them. You can see how other countries have embraced Earth observation to use it as a policy driver. And you can see how we have several thematic networks as well. We work in a regional community, so there is UN-GGIM Europe and there is a UN-GGIM Africa, all with a different focus. And we meet regularly, we discuss all these programs, we contribute to these frameworks, to these norms and guides. And this is work done by people all over the globe. It's not one expert sitting somewhere and getting paid for this. This is all voluntary work of people working in this industry, working in this field. And you can see that there is also, in the networks, we have a very strong private sector network. So we have them on board also discussing with us how to go ahead and how to move forward. And we look at that, we strengthen the global data ecosystem. For instance, you cannot do anything if you don't have a global geodetic reference frame. Now this is hanging there, space and Earth, and some countries invest in it and others don't. And so some countries apply the global systems and others don't. And so in this work we do around the global geodetic system, we have a resolution from the UN saying everybody has to contribute to this system and has to use it. And we have now established a center of excellence on geodesy, where the know-how of the world is brought together and is followed. And this center, we are lucky in Europe, is in Bonn. So this is really a milestone of how we have created a center of excellence with people working on this global geodetic reference frame, on communication about this frame, on making sure countries follow that. If you look at it on a global scale, on the left side, you see all these agendas. Agenda for Sustainable Development, Sendai Framework, Paris Agreement, and so on. And on the right side, you can see all the work that we are putting into this, and we organize our work. We are maybe too much of organizing people. We want to have a map with great things sitting on there and having a clear view where to go, how to go there. So we have developed this integrated geospatial information framework. That is an overarching framework that you can use as a guideline, like a cookbook. What do I need in my country? And this is very important. It overpins other frameworks like the FELA, which is about cadastral land administration. And this framework is really, it has an overarching strategy, an assessment, how far am I, how well developed have I, how well is my geospatial information in my country, how well has it worked, and then you can go all the way to country level action plans. And this is how will we do this, when will we do it, and who will do this. And you can assess the state of your country. And this is not just for development countries, because, for instance, Germany has developed its national geospatial strategy by using the IGIF and the assessment tools that were made by the World Bank to use them. But the World Bank is also using them when countries address the World Bank to say, you know, I want to establish a very strong property register, a cadastre. Then World Bank says, okay, we want to support that, but it's not enough just to have this book with all the owners. You need to have all these policies around it. You have to have integrated geospatial information. And so the World Bank will also use the IGIF and the checklist to help countries to make sure it's not just a one-shot investment, but a strong and long-term investment in a better geospatial capacity of this country. So how do we do this? Well, we have a lot of people doing, like I said, voluntary work. We have, the basis is in English, but we have voluntary translation, because the UN system does not give us the budget to do all this. It's all voluntary contribution. We are, if you have any influence on what your country is saying in the UN, we beg you, please help us to get at least a decent secretariat of 7 people. That's what we're asking now. And it will be on vote later this year to see whether we get this in 2024. But compared to the 165 people working on statistics, we think 7, or in fact it's 12, because there's 5 people more or less working on that. It's just a small investment with a very big return, we are sure. Okay, why did we need it? Well, there was not enough awareness, not understanding of the fact that you don't only need the data, you also need the policy, you need funding, you need capacity building. So we have this approach of the IGIF with the 3 parts. I'm not going into detail. It's really an overarching framework, and you can, I'm just going to switch all these. This is a nice one I like. Here you can see how we have these 9 important strategic pathways. One is about governance and institution. Of course, there's data, there's infrastructure, but also partnerships. Government cannot work in an isolated way. We need partnerships, partnerships with across countries, partnerships with private sector. We need capacity and education. We need communication, engagement, standards. We need the financial issues. So on all these dimensions, in this IGIF, we have questions on how did you organize it? Do you have a law governing how to use geospatial data? That's on the policy and legal part. Do you have a policy? Does your government say, this is our geospatial policy for this country? If not, you are not yet a very well-structured country. And I must say, we are doing this for Belgium well. There's certainly a point where Belgium can improve its policy as a country. And so if you look at it, there's very different, every puzzle breaks down into more dimensions and so on. It's a very comprehensive document. It has 36 key elements. Dive into it if you are interested. It's all there. And the country leveling actions plans are very interesting. We have been working together with people from the World Bank and Senegal to be able to help Senegal make the assessment, and then Senegal will go on and make this into their own country-level action plan. It's not a country-level action plan that a consultant will drop. It's something they build from, starting from the analysis and being helped by other countries to do so. So, one last thing I want to mention, I know I'm already 2.5 minutes over time, almost 3, but I think this is important for you as a sector. I know that in this audience there are quite a lot of SMEs, not the very big ones, not the ESRIs and so on. I've seen the big ones also on the screen, but it's important that you know that there is this thing called the SDG Data Alliance. The SDG Data Alliance is a group of private companies and foundation, non-for-profit organizations that have made it as a goal. There are too many countries where, and I'll be blunt and don't tell Google, but where Google knows more about the country than the country itself. Well, that's a problem, because a country cannot build a proper policy on how to get to those sustainable development goals if they don't have the information. And often it's a lack of capacity within the country. They don't have a ministry of sustainable development, or they don't have an administration that can manage that. They don't have the capacity budget-wise to buy satellites and launch them, or buy whatever product you offer. And so in this data alliance, there is really a cooperation of companies who say, okay, in specific situations, we are willing to help those countries to go on in the development, in the sustainable development, and for that we can agree to open up our capacity, our data, our manpower, or whatever, to help this country to move on, to go to the next level. So if you're interested, everything is on the web about the SDG Data Alliance. It's the big players, but I'm sure that also smaller players in individual situations can really play a role in that. So all is on the web. I'm sorry I couldn't be here earlier today. I'm sorry I'm going to go out again later this evening, but I will still stay around a little bit. But you can always find me. I am not far away here. I'm in the Kortenberglaan, next to my friends from the Ministry of Defense, or let's say the Royal Academy of Royal Military Academy. That's where our offices are. I'm very happy to talk to you and to exchange ideas. And about the subject on how to attract more young people to our industry, I think that it's very important that we show them that geospatial information is crucial in the sustainable development of the world. Young girls want to save the world. Young boys want to become a fireman. That's not a problem. Or an astronaut. But young girls want to save the world. So they will be a nurse or a doctor, or they will go into the, let's say, biology and so on. Well, tell them how STEM is helping to save the world, and you will have more girls. And I know everybody in this room knows young girls who have to decide on what to study at university, well, tell them about how you, in your industry, can help to save the world. And they will be motivated to take those studies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingrid.